Exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, have become incredibly popular tools for new investors, and for good reason. They offer an easy, low-cost way to own a basket of stocks without having to buy each one individually. Think of it like buying a pre-made meal instead of shopping for every single ingredient. It's simple, efficient, and gets you started quickly. However, this simplicity can sometimes hide costly mistakes. One of the biggest and most common errors is failing to understand fund overlap. Many investors chasing high returns will buy several different ETFs without realizing they are just buying the same handful of companies over and over again, wrapped in different packaging. Let's look at a real-world example to see how this plays out. An investor might see the fantastic historical returns of an ETF like QQQ, which tracks the NASDAQ 100, and decide to buy it. Then they might see another fund like VGT, the Vanguard Information Technology ETF, also showing impressive gains, and add that to their portfolio as well. On the surface, this looks like they are diversifying. In reality, they are doing the exact opposite. They are concentrating their risk heavily in the technology sector because these two funds have a massive overlap of about 1/3. Nearly half of the weight in both funds is tied up in the very same companies like Apple and Microsoft. This issue becomes even more pronounced when you compare a specialized ETF with a broad market fund. Take QQQ again. If you also own VTI, the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, you might think you have a well-rounded portfolio. But a staggering 93% of the companies held in QQQ are already included inside VTI. The problem isn't that overlap exists, the problem is being unaware of it. Without knowing how much of your money is truly invested in specific companies across all your funds, you could be taking on far more risk than you intended, essentially betting your entire financial future on the performance of just a few tech giants. This unintentional overconcentration is what some people call diversification, the act of adding more investments to a portfolio in a way that actually increases risk or reduces potential returns. Instead of spreading your risk, you are unknowingly doubling down on the same bet. To avoid this, it's crucial to look under the hood of your ETFs. Use online tools to analyze fund overlap and understand your true exposure. Knowing exactly what you own and how much of it you own is the first fundamental step toward building a truly diversified and resilient long-term investment strategy. It's a simple check that could save you from significant losses down the road. For decades, new investors have been guided by the classic three-fund portfolio philosophy. The idea is simple and elegant. Achieve maximum diversification by holding just three types of assets that don't overlap. These are typically a total U.S. stock market fund like VTI, a total international stock market fund like VXUS, and a total bond market fund like BND. This strategy was designed to be a set-it-and-forget-it solution, protecting investors from ignorance by spreading their money across different geographies and asset classes. The logic was that if one market went down, the others would hopefully hold steady or go up, smoothing out the ride. However, diversification for its own sake is not always the best path to building wealth. While the theory behind the three-fund portfolio is sound, its real-world performance has left much to be desired in recent years. The issue lies with the performance of the international and bond components. Over the last decade, the returns from funds like VXUS, which covers international stocks, and BND, which covers bonds, have been disappointingly low, hovering around just 3.7% and 1.3% annually, respectively. Holding a large portion of your portfolio in these assets would have significantly dragged down your overall returns, especially compared to the strong performance of the US market. This highlights a critical lesson. The goal of investing isn't just to be the most diversified person in the room. The goal is to achieve the best possible long-term return with safety, consistency, and sustainability. As the legendary investor Warren Buffett has said, wide diversification is only required when investors do not understand what they are doing. He argues that knowledgeable investors should instead concentrate their capital in a smaller number of wonderful businesses. This doesn't mean you should put all your eggs in one basket, but it does mean you should be selective about which baskets you choose. Therefore, we need to rethink what true diversification means. It's not about owning a little bit of everything, including assets that consistently underperform. It's about thoughtfully combining high-quality assets that have a strong track record and a promising future. This might mean focusing more on a robust core of U.S. equities, or choosing specific sectors with high growth potential, Rather than diluting your gains by allocating a large chunk of your portfolio to low-return assets just for the sake of checking a box. Quality should always take precedence over quantity when constructing your portfolio. One of the most dangerous temptations for a new investor is the urge to simply copy what someone else is doing. You might watch a video or read an article about a successful investor's portfolio and think, if it worked for them, it will work for me. This is a massive mistake. Constantly changing your strategy based on the latest trend or blindly mirroring another person's investments without doing your own research is a recipe for disaster. An investment that is perfect for one person can be completely unsuitable for another, because everyone's financial situation, risk tolerance, and long-term goals are unique. Let me give you a personal example to illustrate this point. In my own investment strategy, I intentionally avoid holding real estate investment trusts, or REITs, within my stock portfolio. A person looking at my portfolio might think I'm against real estate as an investment, which couldn't be further from the truth. The reason I avoid REITs is that I already have significant exposure to the real estate market through 2 rental properties. These properties make up a substantial portion of my total net worth. Adding REITs on top of that would over-concentrate my risk in a single sector, making my entire financial well-being too dependent on the health of the real estate market. This is why context is everything. My decision to avoid REITs is strategic and based on my complete financial picture. Someone who doesn't own any physical real estate, however, might find that REITs are an excellent way to gain exposure to that asset class and diversify their holdings. If that person simply copied my portfolio without understanding the reasoning behind it, they would be missing out on a potentially valuable investment for their specific situation. This principle applies to everything, from the types of stocks you buy to your allocation between aggressive and conservative assets. Your investment strategy must be tailored to you. Before you invest a single dollar, you need to have a clear understanding of your own life. How old are you? When do you plan to retire? Do you have a high-risk tolerance, or does market volatility keep you up at night? Do you have other significant investments like a business or property that need to be factored in? Answering these questions is the foundation of a successful investment plan. Never outsource this critical thinking. Your portfolio should be a reflection of your goals, not a copy of someone else's. So how do you avoid these common pitfalls and build a portfolio that can stand the test of time and potentially save you over $100,000 in lost gains? It comes down to 3 core principles: focus on quality, know what you own, and build disciplined habits. Ditch the idea that you need a dozen different ETFs to be successful. Often, a simple portfolio built around 1 or 2 high-quality broad market index funds like VTI can be far more effective than a complex mix of overlapping, underperforming assets. Simplicity is your friend, especially when you are starting out. The first and most important step is to commit to understanding your investments. Don't just buy an ETF because of its ticker symbol or because it had a good year. Use free online tools to look at its top holdings, check its expense ratio, and analyze its overlap with other funds you own. Are you accidentally concentrating 40% of your portfolio in just 5 companies? Knowing the answer to this question gives you control. It allows you to make intentional decisions about where your money is going, rather than passively hoping for the best. This knowledge is the true protection against ignorance. Secondly, shift your focus from chasing maximum diversification to seeking consistent long-term returns from high-quality assets. Don't feel pressured to own international stocks or bonds if their performance and outlook don't align with your goals. It is better to be concentrated in a few excellent investments than to be widely diversified in mediocre ones. The goal is to build wealth, not just to create a portfolio that looks good on paper. This means being patient and allowing the power of compounding to work its magic on strong, reliable assets over many years. Finally, the most critical element is building good habits and sticking to your plan. The biggest mistake is not a single bad investment, but a lack of a coherent, personalized strategy. Stop changing your portfolio every time you hear a new tip. Don't copy others blindly. Instead, build a plan based on your unique financial situation and long-term objectives, and have the discipline to follow it through market ups and downs. By focusing on quality, understanding what you own, and staying consistent, you will be well on your way to building a successful and resilient financial future.